The twin suns of Aurelia shone over the silver city of Ardon, the capital of the proud warrior world. The streets were alive with banners, soldiers, and the sound of practice blades striking against shields. The Varelians were known across the stars as a race of strength and elegance. Their movements were art, and their pride was older than most civilizations. Among them was Princess Lyraya, the youngest ruler in centuries, famous for her courage and skill in battle. Her armor gleamed like polished obsidian, carved with lines of gold and silver. Her people adored her, not because she was kind, but because she was fierce. She never showed weakness, never admitted defeat, and never allowed anyone to mock her world. On this bright morning, however, her patience was being tested. A small ship from Earth had landed at the royal training grounds. Out stepped 5 humans, sent by the Galactic Alliance as advisors. They had come to share battle strategies, lessons learned from centuries of human warfare. But what drew everyone's attention was the one who led them, Captain Evan Cole. He wasn't tall by Varelian standards. His armor wasn't beautiful. It was scratched, worn, and patched in places. The other soldiers whispered among themselves, calling it primitive. Some even laughed. Yet, when Evan moved, there was a calmness in his steps, a sense of quiet focus that unsettled even seasoned warriors. Lyraya stood at the head of her troops, watching the humans with a smirk. "These are the soldiers of Earth," she said, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "I expected more." One of her generals, a broad alien named Karoth, chuckled. "Perhaps their weapons are as old as their armor." Evan didn't respond. He simply opened the small device on his wrist and displayed a holographic map of the training area. "We'll begin with coordinated defense drills," he said evenly. His voice was calm, not defensive, not proud, just professional. Lyraya raised an eyebrow. "You will teach my soldiers." He looked up at her. "If that's what you requested, Princess?" Her pride bristled. "Very well, human. Show us your method." The soldiers formed ranks. The humans demonstrated how to work in close formation, using angles and timing rather than brute strength. Their moves were efficient, less flashy than the Varelian style, but extremely effective. Within minutes, aliens realized the humans weren't relying on speed or power. They were relying on teamwork. But Lyraya wasn't impressed. She crossed her arms and watched, her golden eyes narrowing. When one of the human soldiers stumbled slightly under her soldier's shove, she laughed. "So fragile," she said. "Your armor protects you too much. You fear the sting of the blade." Evan heard her but kept silent. He continued the drills, adjusting positions, correcting his people, and even giving polite advice to her warriors. His calm tone seemed to irritate her even more. Finally, she walked closer, circling him like a predator. "Tell me, Captain, is it true that humans hide inside metal because they are weak without it?" Her soldiers laughed again. Evan simply looked at her, his face expressionless. "Armor is protection, not a cage," he said. "We wear it so we can stand longer, not because we fear standing at all." She tilted her head, studying him. "Pretty words," she said. "But words are wind." Evan didn't argue. He just turned away to check the equipment. That quiet dismissal so calm, so sure hit her pride harder than any insult could have. That evening the palace buzzed with talk about the human captain. Some said he was emotionless. Others said he was hiding fear behind that calm face. Lyraya listened to them all, her chin resting on her hand as the firelight danced across her features. "He didn't even flinch when I mocked him," she said finally. "Either he is made of stone, or he thinks too highly of himself." Her guard captain replied, "Princess, perhaps he fears offending you. Humans are diplomatic creatures. Or perhaps," she said with a grin, "he simply cannot match me." She decided then that she would see how far she could push him. The next day, when the humans arrived at the arena again, she was already there, dressed in her black and gold battle armor. The crowd had gathered her soldiers, nobles, even curious citizens. Lyraya announced loudly, "Today, I will see if the humans' courage is real. Captain Evan Cole, face me in a duel." The crowd cheered. The humans exchanged uncertain glances. Evan stepped forward slowly, meeting her gaze. "This wasn't in our training plan," he said quietly. "Afraid?" she asked, her smile sharp. He didn't blink. "No, but unnecessary fights waste energy that could be used for learning." Her smirk faltered for just a second. No one had ever told her that before. Then she raised her sword, its edge glowing with blue light. "Then consider this. A lesson." The arena fell silent. Even the wind seemed to pause. Evan sighed, adjusted his old armor straps, and nodded. "As you wish." The duel began. Lariah moved like lightning. Her strikes were clean, graceful, and deadly accurate. Each blow hit Evan's armor with a loud crack, echoing through the field. He blocked, dodged, and deflected, but never attacked back. His movements were efficient, without anger, without fear. "Fight me properly, human," she demanded, swinging again. He blocked her blade with the side of his arm shield. "This isn't a fight," he said calmly. "It's a demonstration." Her pride flared. She swung faster, harder. He moved aside again, almost effortlessly. Her soldiers shouted encouragement, thinking their princess was close to victory. But the longer the duel went, the more obvious it became. Ivan wasn't being pushed back. He was simply not attacking. After a while, he lowered his weapon slightly. "Enough," he said. "You've proved your skill." She glared at him, her breathing sharp. "I'll decide when it's enough." He looked around at the watching soldiers, then back at her. "This isn't helping your troops learn anything," he said. "If you wish to fight, fight for meaning, not ego." The words hit her like a blade to the chest. Her pride cracked for the first time. But instead of showing it, she laughed. Such arrogance. A human lecturing a princess of Varelia. Evan didn't respond. He simply turned to his team. "We're done for today." He started walking away, leaving her standing there, her sword still glowing. The crowd whispered. Some admired his calmness. Others called it insult. But deep inside, Lariah felt something she hadn't felt in years: curiosity. Who was this man who didn't bow? He didn't argue and didn't try to impress anyone. That night, she couldn't sleep. The duel replayed in her mind again and again. Every time she struck, his movements had been precise, minimal, controlled. He hadn't been scared. He hadn't even been angry. He had simply been better without trying to humiliate her. Her pride told her to forget it, but her heart whispered otherwise. She called for her record keeper. "Tell me," she asked, "what do you know of Earth?" The old scholar scrolled through his datapad. A world once thought uninhabitable. High gravity, unstable weather, endless wars, yet the humans survived. They adapt faster than any known species. Lariah frowned. And they wear armor because they fear death? The scholar shook his head. No, princess. They wear it because they expect to die, but they fight anyway. Those words lingered in her mind like an echo. The next morning, she watched from her balcony as the humans trained quietly below. They worked together, fixing weapons, checking armor, sharing rations. Evan was there, speaking softly to his team. No pride, no anger, just focus. Something inside her shifted. She wasn't used to seeing warriors who fought without seeking glory. Every Varelian battle was a performance. Every victory, a song. But these humans didn't sing. They just worked. When she descended to the field, the soldiers froze and bowed. Evan straightened up, nodding politely. "I've been thinking," she said. "You may continue teaching my troops, but tomorrow you will face me again." Evan studied her face quietly. "For training or pride?" She smiled thinly. "We'll see which it becomes." He nodded once. "Then I'll be ready." That evening, as the sun set and the purple sky shimmered with stars, Lariah stood before her mirror. Her reflection showed strength and beauty, but her eyes betrayed her thoughts. For the first time, she wondered if her people's pride had blinded them to a different kind of power. It's the kind that didn't need to be shown. She thought of the human's steady gaze, his patience, his quiet refusal to rise to her taunts, and for reasons she couldn't explain, her heart beat faster. The duel tomorrow would not be about proving who was stronger. It would be about understanding what strength truly meant. The next morning, the arena was alive with tension. The twin suns of Virelia had risen bright and hot, glinting off the polished stones and banners. Soldiers and citizens packed the stands, whispering and pointing. Today would be unlike any previous duel in the history of Arden. Princess Lariah walked at the center, her black and gold armor shining. Every movement radiated power and confidence. Her golden hair fell over her shoulders like sunlight, and her sword gleamed in her hand. She had trained for years, faced the fiercest warriors of her world. Yet a small seed of doubt had planted itself in her mind. Captain Evan Cole entered quietly, his worn armor patched in places, the scratches and dents telling silent stories of countless battles. He moved calmly, without hurry, and yet with a sense of purpose that unsettled many of the spectators. The humans beside him waited silently, their eyes on the princess. But Evan did not glance at her. The crowd hushed as Lariah spoke. "Captain Evan Cole, you mocked my world yesterday. Today you will prove if humans are more than fragile shells behind metal." Evan's voice was even calm. "I am not here to prove anything, princess, but I will do my part to teach your soldiers." Lariah smiled, sharp and proud. "Then let us begin." She lunged first, her sword slicing the air with speed that could have taken a less experienced warrior's life. Evan didn't flinch. He shifted slightly, barely moving, and the blade passed harmlessly. The crowd gasped. "Is that all? Human?" She called, "Do you cower behind that armor?" He didn't respond. Instead, he moved with fluid precision, avoiding her strikes in a way that seemed effortless. Every step he took was calculated, every dodge perfect. Yet he did not attack, did not raise his own blade. Her pride flared. "You refuse to fight properly," she shouted, and with a fierce cry, she accelerated. Her sword became a blur, moving in arcs and patterns that even her most loyal soldiers could barely follow. Evan stepped aside once, twice, and then paused. The sun glinted on the scratches of his armor, highlighting the simplicity of his gear. In that moment, the audience realized something startling. He was not weak. His armor may have looked fragile, but the man inside it moved like a living shadow, calm and unyielding. The duel continued, and Lariah's strikes grew sharper, faster, more aggressive. Yet Evan's movements were measured, almost poetic. He used her momentum, redirecting her force without force of his own. The crowd murmured in disbelief. "Why does he not strike?" whispered one soldier to another. "Is he afraid?" But others shook their heads. "No, he is teaching her something. I can see it in his calm eyes." Lariah's frustration boiled over. Her pride could not allow her to be taught by a human. She attacked again, harder, faster, aiming to overpower him. For the first time, Evan stepped back, matching her speed with his footwork. His armor rattled slightly under the impact. The noise drew a collective gasp from the crowd. Then with a quiet motion, he stopped. He turned to her, his expression calm, steady, and unafraid. "Princess," he said softly, "armor is not strength. Strength is what lies behind it." The words hung in the air like a challenge. Lariah's chest rose and fell, her golden eyes narrowing. She had never faced a warrior who could make her doubt herself without raising a hand, without warning. Evan unlatched the clasp on his helmet. The crowd gasped as the human's face was revealed, scarred, but calm, steady, and fearless. Lariah's grip tightened on her sword. Then, slowly, deliberately, he removed the chest plate, piece by piece. The audience watched in silence, the hum of anticipation rising like a storm. Every layer of armor fell away, and with it, the illusion of fragility. Beneath the metal, Evan was simple, unadorned. Human, but in every movement, every stance, there was control, precision, and power. For the first time, the Virelian spectators realized something they had never understood. Strength did not need shine or polish. It did not require the flash of gold or silver. Strength could exist quietly, invisibly. In a human willing to stand unprotected, Lariah's mouth opened in shock, but no words came out. Her sword wavered in her grip. The pride she had carried all her life trembled. Evan stepped forward slowly. "I am ready now," he said. His calmness was more frightening than any weapon. She lunged. The duel that followed was unlike anything Varelia had ever seen. Lorea's blade moved faster than sunlight, but Evan moved like water. He avoided, redirected, and parried without raising his own weapon. Every strike she made met air, her momentum flowing around him as if he were part of the world itself. The crowd could hardly believe their eyes. Her attacks, faster and sharper than any human could endure, never landed. He didn't counter, he simply showed her the futility of relying on force alone. Her arms ached. Her breath came in quick bursts, and yet he remained calm, untouched. She realized then that he wasn't avoiding her because he feared her. He was avoiding her because he was teaching her something she had never learned: control, patience, and the quiet power of restraint. The duel lasted longer than anyone expected. Hours seemed to pass, yet neither lost focus. Lorea attacked with fire, fury, and pride. Evan moved with water, patience, and understanding. Every observer felt the tension, the shock, the awe. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Lorea's blade wavered. Her pride refused to let her fall, but her body was exhausted. She stopped, breathing heavily, and stared at the human standing before her. You are stronger than I imagined," she admitted quietly. He nodded, still calm. "Strength is not always visible, Princess. It is in endurance, patience, and in the choice to act wisely." The soldiers around them whispered among themselves, "The human one without striking?" Lorea turned to the crowd. "Silence," she commanded. Her voice was strong, but her eyes betrayed the respect she felt. That night, she returned to her chambers, the duel replaying in her mind. Every move, every dodge, every moment of quiet control haunted her. She realized something she had never known. Humans could possess courage that did not need display, power that did not need proof, and confidence that did not demand victory. The next morning, she found Evan preparing his gear, ready to return to his team. "Wait," she called. You do not leave, Captain?" "I always leave when my work is done," he replied evenly. "I have shown what is necessary. Your soldiers have learned more in today's duel than any lesson I could teach in words." She frowned. "But why did you not strike me once?" He looked at her, calm and steady. "Because the lesson was not in defeating you, Princess. It was in showing you what true strength looked like." For a long moment she studied him. The fierce princess, who had never bowed to anyone, felt an unfamiliar warmth of respect and curiosity. She wanted to challenge him again, not to win, but to understand more, and so she did. The rest of the day was spent in quiet observation. Evan trained the soldiers, corrected movements, and offered advice. Lorea watched him closely, seeing how he interacted with his team, not as a commander, but as a teacher, a leader, and a human being who inspired loyalty without fear. She asked questions, not to mock, but to learn. "Why do humans fight with so much patience?" she asked. "Because we cannot rely on brute strength alone," he said. "We have to think, adapt, and endure. Sometimes patience is stronger than steel." She nodded slowly. The lesson sank deep. She had thought strength meant dominance, victory, and fearlessness in battle. Now she understood it was more than that. It was control, wisdom, and courage beyond what the eyes could see, as the sun set. Casting long shadows over the arena, Lorea approached him quietly. "Captain Evan Cole," she said, her voice soft. "You have taught me more than I expected, and yet I am not finished learning." He nodded once. "Then I will be here to teach what I can. But strength also comes from understanding, Princess. Not every lesson is fought with swords." She smiled faintly, a smile that carried humility and newfound respect. "I will see tomorrow then. But this time, the duel will not be about teaching. It will be about understanding each other." Ven tilted his head, calm as ever. "Then I am ready." The arena emptied slowly, the soldiers whispering about the incredible display. No one had ever seen a human move like that, without fear, without anger, without the need to dominate. They had seen restraint, patience, and precision, and a strength that rivaled the finest warriors of Virila. As the stars rose over Ardan, Liariah stood on the balcony, thinking of the human who had removed his armor not to surrender, but to reveal a courage greater than any blade. She didn't realize it yet, but the duel tomorrow would change everything. The galaxy had never seen a human act like this before, and the princess knew, deep in her heart, that she had only just begun to understand the true meaning of strength. The arena of Arden was quiet the next morning, the twin suns shining down but offering no warmth to the nervous anticipation in the crowd. Soldiers whispered to one another, and even the city's nobles leaned forward, eager to witness the continuation of a duel that had already entered legend. Princess Liariah stood at the center, her sword in hand, armor polished and bright. But her stance was different now. It was not only proud, it carried humility. Her golden eyes, usually filled with fire and certainty, now held curiosity, respect, and an emotion she could not yet name. Captain Evan Cole entered silently, wearing only his undersuit. His armor had been removed entirely, leaving him simple and unadorned, but no one in the arena doubted his strength. Each step he took was precise, controlled, and calm. Soldiers held their breath. This human, who looked so fragile, had already bested the strongest warriors of their world without striking a single fatal blow. Liariah approached him. "You removed your armor yesterday?" she said softly. "And yet you moved as if you were invincible." Evan's calm eyes met hers. "Armor does not make the warrior, princess. Courage does. Strength does. Knowledge of yourself and control over your actions, that is what makes a person formidable." Her hands tightened on her sword. She did not speak, because no words could match the truth in his eyes. The duel began. But it was different this time. Liariah did not attack with her usual fury. She tested, she measured, and she moved carefully, watching Evan with every step. She realized his movements were not just skill, they were a lesson in control. Every dodge, every sidestep, every counterbalance taught her something about patience, endurance, and calculated action. The crowd watched in awe. This was not a fight for victory. It was a demonstration of understanding. Liariah's attacks no longer sought to strike him down, they sought to see how he would respond, how he would teach without words. Evan moved like water, graceful and deliberate. Every motion conserved energy. Every shift of weight was calculated. He did not raise his sword, did not strike, but his presence alone shaped the battlefield. Soldiers whispered among themselves, some in disbelief, some in admiration. "He doesn't even fight. Yet he is stronger than her," one whispered. "Strength isn't always measured by force," another replied. "Sometimes it is measured by restraint." Liariah's arms ached, her breath was short, and yet she did not stop. Each movement of her sword became slower, more thoughtful, and more precise. She realized that victory was not the point, not today. The point was understanding, and understanding required humility. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky, shadows stretching across the arena, and then Evan stopped. He stepped back and nodded once. "Princess," he said softly, "we have learned much today. Not by strength alone, but by understanding." Liariah lowered her sword, the first time in her life that she had voluntarily lowered her weapon in front of another warrior. The crowd gasped. She felt her chest tighten not with fear, but with awe. I see it now," she whispered. "Strength is not what I thought it was." Evan turned to leave. He did not boast. He did not demand recognition. He simply walked toward the exit, calm and unassuming. For a moment, Liariah wanted to call him back, to ask him to stay, to continue the lesson. But pride, her lifelong companion, gave way to respect. She ran after him, her sword lowered, but her steps quick. "Wait," she called. The arena fell silent. Soldiers watched, holding their breath. Evan paused, glancing over his shoulder. "Princess?" She stepped closer, her voice steadier now. You could have defeated me easily. Yet you did not strike. You showed me what humans are capable of, and I do not know how to repay that lesson." Evan's calm expression did not change. "No repayment is needed. The lesson is enough." Her eyes softened, and for the first time, Lyria allowed herself a small, genuine smile. "Then stay. Not to fight me, not to teach my soldiers, but to remain here. To continue helping me understand." He considered her words for a long moment. Then, slowly, he nodded. "Very well, I will stay. But only as long as I am useful to your people." The soldiers cheered quietly. They had seen a human demonstrate something their world had never understood: courage without armor, strength without dominance, and honor without glory. Over the following weeks, Lyria watched him closely. She observed not only his movements, but his manner. Evan treated every soldier with respect, corrected mistakes patiently, and led without pride. Lyria realized that the strongest warrior was not the one who struck the hardest, but the one who inspired courage and resilience in others. One day, she approached him in the training yard. "Captain Evan," she said, her tone curious and soft, "why do humans value patience so much? Why do you endure so much without striking?" He smiled faintly. "Because rushing leads to mistakes. Striking without thought leads to loss. Endurance allows wisdom, and wisdom often wins without a fight." She nodded slowly, the words sinking deep into her mind. She thought of the countless duels she had fought in the past, where victory was measured by the fall of the opponent. She realized that in those battles, she had learned skill but never understanding. "You have taught me more than any Varelian master ever did," she admitted quietly. Evan's calm gaze met hers. "You have also taught me something, Princess, that even the proudest warriors can learn from humility and understanding." Her cheeks warmed. The moment carried a weight she had never felt before: respect, admiration, and something more subtle, yet undeniable. Weeks turned into months. The human captain remained at Ardon, continuing his work with the soldiers. He helped them improve their techniques, taught patience, and instilled the understanding that strength could be quiet. Lyria trained alongside him, not as a princess facing a human inferior, but as a student eager to learn from someone extraordinary. The soldiers, who once doubted the human's abilities, now looked up to him. They began to emulate his calm, precise movements. The city began to whisper about the human who taught the strongest warriors of Varelia how to be truly strong. Lyria, however, never forgot the duel that changed her forever, the day he removed his armor. It had been more than a lesson in combat. It had been a lesson in courage, honor, and the power of restraint. And now, she watched him leave the training grounds one evening to return to his quarters. She felt an unfamiliar urge. The urge to stop him, to tell him that he had become more than a teacher, more than a guide. He had become someone who mattered. "Wait," she called again, stepping onto the balcony above him. Evan looked up, calm as ever. "Princess?" She stepped closer to the edge, the wind tugging at her hair. "You are leaving, but I cannot let this end here. You have shown me what true strength is, but strength without connection is not enough. Stay, not for your armor, not for my soldiers, but for yourself. And for us." Evan paused. The calmness in his eyes softened slightly. He had never been at a loss for words, but something in her voice, humble and filled with quiet respect, made him consider more than duty. "Very well," he said finally. "I will stay. But not because you ask it. I will stay because I wish to continue what we have begun." Her golden eyes shone with a mixture of relief, admiration, and something deeper that she had not yet named. She realized as she watched him return to the training yard that the galaxy would remember this human not for his armor, his weapon, or his victories, but for the courage and strength he showed when he removed the armor, stood unprotected, and taught a proud princess the meaning of true power. The arena became silent as the sun set, the twin moons rising to cast a soft glow over the city. Soldiers whispered about the lessons learned, about the human who had walked among them not as an invader, not as a conqueror, but as a teacher, a guide. In an inspiration, Princess Lyraya stood alone for a moment, her sword sheathed, her armor polished, but less important than it had ever been. She thought of the human captain, the one who had removed his armor and revealed the strength behind it. In that quiet moment, she understood what few warriors ever did, that true strength was not measured by gold, silver, or metal. It was measured by courage, restraint, patience, and the quiet knowledge that one could stand unarmed against the world and still prevail. And in that understanding, a new chapter began, not just for Lyraya, or for Evan, or for Varelia, but for humanity itself. A chapter in which courage, humility, and strength could be measured not by the weight of armor, but by the heart beneath it.